So let's see what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about CryptPad. So actually, I think one of the best things to do is actually to do a very quick demo of what CryptPad is. So let's start. So if you are actually arriving on CryptPad, so this is a CryptPad server, you can directly create a document. So it takes one click to create a document. I don't even need to create an account. And then I have a document, and actually I can type on this document, and if I actually share a link, here I get a secure link. I should share that link in a secure manner with somebody else. So, for example, through another end-to-end encrypted tool like Signal or Matrix, and I can share that with another user, and that user will join my session, my document. So here I type, see typing in the other document. So that's just to explain a bit the principle of the real-time thing. Everything's real-time in CryptPad, but it's not only real-time on a simple document like that one. It can have images, so I can insert an image in my document, but it's also real-time on a presentation. So let's take, for example, or a Kanban here, a markdown document. So this, for example, is a markdown document with macros. So you can have little markdown features, but it's also real-time on a drive. So here I have a drive, I have shared folders. So this folder can actually be visible by another user. I can navigate in my drive, and I can open my presentation. So this is my presentation that I have written in CryptPad. I have slides. So this is based on OnlyOffice, open source software. I got a demo effect here. And so I have 10 types of documents inside CryptPad. So let's go back to the presentation. Maybe one last thing, we also include surveys, so you can write surveys with CryptPad. So let me go back to my slides here. So we have 10 types of documents. You could try to summarize CryptPad as a Google Docs that provides end-to-end encryption. So it's an office suite with document editing. It's collaborative, real-time. It includes even some other additional features like your drive, a calendar inside CryptPad, and a team system. So you can create teams, invite users to be part of your team, and they will share a drive together. But the particularity of CryptPad is that it's all based on end-to-end encryption. It has differentiated keys. Every document will be protected with a separate key. And a key aspect of CryptPad is that it provides a familiar interface. And it's all open source. So we have put 11 years of development in CryptPad, so it's been around for quite a while. And the way we look at CryptPad is that it's possible to have full privacy, very strong privacy, and collaboration at the same time. So you don't have to give up features, too many features, in order to get the privacy that you deserve. So how does it actually work? So who's familiar with end-to-end encryption here? Okay, quite a lot. So we have general specialists. So actually, who has already used CryptPad? Oh, good. Okay. So when we try to explain end-to-end encryption, which is still necessary if you talk to everybody, most of your data on the internet is encrypted. It goes through encrypted from your device to a server somewhere. But on that server, when the data arrives, it's stored unencrypted. So the admin of that server can look at the data. You actually have some systems that promise you encryption at rest, which means that your data will be encrypted on the servers. So if somebody steals the disk, and doesn't have the key, he won't be able to read the data. However, the admins of that server still have the keys and can read that data. And end-to-end encryption is when the only people that have the keys is yourself and the people that you decided to share the data with. And that's what is important in an encrypted system. So basic encryption is itself not enough. So if somebody else has the keys, it will not work. It will not protect your data in the way you think it is. So that this is can be confusing for users. This is why the term end-to-end encryption is very important and needs to be properly protected. It has been misused in the past. For example, there's been an episode with Zoom that was saying that their system was end-to-end encrypted, when in reality it was encrypted to the server, and then it was encrypted back from the server to other users, but at the server level it was all decrypted. And another aspect that is really important is that the key management is super important. Now, what is the goal that we could have with end-to-end encrypted system? Well, one of the goals, and the goal we have for CryptPad, is to get us out of the surveillance economy. So it's giving users the trust that their data will be really protected, that their data will not be misused. For example, for AI. If it's encrypted with your keys, then you decide who has access to these keys, you decide who has access to your data. You don't need to just have a promise that the other party are not misusing the data. So I'm not going to spend time trying to convince people that they should use end-to-end encrypted solution because I will prefer to show what exists. But I will encourage you to use any end-to-end encrypted or privacy-oriented solution. That can be Signal, Element in the chat sector. There was a conference this morning about this, and it was very, very good. And or privacy-centric OSs like Marina. So in some cases you have end-to-end encryption, in some cases you don't have, but at least you have the willingness to protect your data. Now, privacy is a trade-off. Sometimes there are features that are really difficult to do with end-to-end encryption, and the question will arise for the user is whether or not they do need all these features. So in some cases, for example, AI is really difficult to do in end-to-end encrypted system, because if you really want to do it right, you would have to bring the AI locally on the device, and that might be very difficult to do. Now the question is that actually a bad thing? That you can't do it. It's actually giving you way more guarantees that your data is not mishandled, because it's actually very easy to mishandle AI, data with AI systems. So how does exactly CryptPad work? So it starts at the login. So I said before, you don't need a login to create one document, but when you actually become let's say a complete CryptPad user, what will happen is that you will want to create a drive. And that drive is going to be like a wallet where you hold all your keys. So it's your keychain, basically. And this wallet is protected by your username and password. In CryptPad, when you create an account, we never get your username, we never get your password. Everything is handled on your device, and a key is created out of your username and your password. So this username and password is extremely important. If you lose it, we can't do anything for you. We can't get your data back. If we could, we would be lying about how it works. So we are deriving keys out of the login and password, and that will also derive an address for your drive. So this address and this key will give you access to the drive. The drive will contain all further document addresses and all further keys to access the next documents. So there is no password recovery in CryptPad. That's a very important feature. CryptPad has been thought about being encryption for all. So our goal is not necessarily to make the most secure system in the world. Our goal is to make a a system that will protect your data as much as we can, which will give you guarantees that your data is not mishandled, but that is still easy to use. The idea is to give people a familiar user interface that they will be not lost into. We see that the major difficulty to switch people out of mainstream tools is that they are lost whenever anything changes. So the idea is, how can you make it easy to use? For example, our vision is that, yeah, GPG is very nice to encrypt data or encrypt emails, but it's difficult. It's a big change for users, and it really makes it difficult for people to adopt the tool that is more secure. And so our goal with CryptPad is do the tool that will have as the least friction possible while preserving the privacy and the security. So we also had some accessibility audits, which gave us some things that are not working well. So it's not easy to make a tool like CryptPad fully accessible, because it's fairly difficult to make very accessible editors whenever there is editing in line. It's not simple to do accessibility, but even though we had some good results with the accessibility audits that we had run. So some usage statistics. So I will try to go through that pretty quickly. So CryptPad has 2,200 instances as of today. At the end of 2005, we were at 2,000 instances. So already in 4 months, 10% instances more. We don't know how many users there are on these instances. The only instance for which we know how many users we have is our own instance that is run by the CryptPad team. So we run a CryptPad FR instance. So we like to call it .fr to actually tell people where it's hosted. It's not a proof that it's hosted in France, but we want to show that where it is, where is your data, even though that data is encrypted. So it might not matter as much where the data is, since it's encrypted. We have, at the end of 2005, we had more than 2.6 million pads open per month. So that's a monthly dashboard. So these statistics actually show that even though things are encrypted, doesn't mean that we know nothing about our users. But actually these statistics are fairly corresponding to what we know about our users, which is their IP address. And based on the IP address, you can usually know their country. So these statistics are based on the IP addresses that people use to come to us. If they come through VPN, if they come through Tor, and we have many users that are coming to Tor, they're making our data imprecise, so not exactly corresponding to the reality. But that's not the case of lots of our users. So we do have country access, country level information about our users. So in 2025, we had a big usage growth in the US. So it might not be too difficult to guess why. And the US has outgrown our biggest country, that was Germany before, and has outgrown Europe in the usage of CryptPad. We have hundreds of thousands of users that are coming every month just on CryptPad FR. And out of that, we have 1,500 subscribers and around 1,000 donators. So actually, this is more recent data, as basically during 2025 we almost double usage, or 50% usage more. Since the beginning of the year, we had another spike in the US. This is the green data. And we had a particular spike that actually, initially we thought we were being DDoSed at CryptPad FR, which actually were Mexican students, as we realized that we were included in the teaching program of the Mexican state. And so we had a lot of access from single IPs, and we were not really understanding why it was so. And I find it interesting to show this, because I mean, this led us to 5 million pads in a month. So more than 1 million documents opened by students in Mexico. So it both shows us that we still have a long road to do to become mainstream and to have actually lots of users. But it also shows that if states were teaching our kids to use European or privacy-respecting software instead of teaching them US and software coming from companies that are, let's say, repeat offenders in the world of privacy, well, they would much more know that our software exists and that it's not that bad. So statistics in 2026, 5 million pads. So the Mexican are during school time, so they will count down now. They have countdown during the week of holidays, but they will. We will see if people stay in Mexico and become regular users of CryptPad. Actually, here's some statistics for the Nordic countries. So we do have users in Sweden, Finland, and Norwegian, and Denmark. Actually, the biggest countries are Finland and Sweden, and probably the main reason is that we are properly translated in Finnish and Swedish. We have 85% translations, so we're still missing some. This is mostly because it's regularly added translation in the software. But we're not very well translated in Denmark and in Danish and Norwegian, so if there are any Danish and Norwegian, you're very welcome to encourage people to complete our translation and make the software more accessible in your country. We also have very heavy form usage, so one of the features that actually brings us a lot of users is the CryptPad Forms, so equivalent of Google Forms typically, and has been used by the United Nations, is heavily used by activist groups, especially in the US, as a way to protect the privacy of people they're asking to answer questions. And when we look at it, we're thinking like, nobody should ever send people to Google or Microsoft without their consent to answer forms. Especially when you have a tool such as CryptPad that is free, so anybody can create a free form, and it's fully encrypted. Nobody can read the data on the CryptPad servers except the people that the forms are meant for. Some data of what happened on the software itself in 2025. So we did a lot of work on the UI UX. It's one of the key areas of work to have better functioning on mobile and better look. So for example, we worked on the icons. Sounds a bit futile, but it's not. It's actually super important that people feel good when they use the software. That's actually probably one of the strengths of the proprietary software, is the amount of time that is being put into the UI UX. So it's not that we can't do it, it's just that it takes a lot of time, and for that you need engineering time. We also worked on a CryptPad API, so if you're having documents, you can actually connect to a CryptPad instance to make them editable in real time. If you have documents that are encrypted, you can use CryptPad to make them editable without breaking the encryption layer. We also have a CryptPad cloud offering, which allows us to also have some source of revenue, and for people that want to run their own instances but cannot self-host them on their own servers. We also did a lot of work around the OnlyOffice integration, lots of fixes. We did some post-quantum experiments, but they stay experiments at this point because we still have difficulties to maintain performance if we add post-quantum in the system. We received a free audit from the German BSI, which allowed us to learn more certain potential problems. Nothing that was big, mostly denial of service possibilities on the CryptPad server. Some information about the CryptPad finance. So CryptPad is developed at XWiki SAS. XWiki SAS is a company that builds open source software for 20 years, makes most of its revenue out of the XWiki software. I have a presentation tomorrow morning about how we manage to pay ourselves doing open source without any external investors. On CryptPad, there's 9 people working, represents around about the cost of 700k euros. So you don't find 700,000 700,000 euros that easily. And engineers have valuable time, and most of the production done on the CryptPad server is not volunteer-based production, it's paid. It's engineering time that is paid. The company gives financial stability to the CryptPad team, and that's quite important, but it's challenging to fund the project. Most of it over time has been funded by European funds or French funds, most of 80% of it till 2024. What we're trying to do is to achieve the same thing that we achieved for XWiki, is creating a real independence on the financing of it. So that means not being fully dependent on grants, and have the capacity to have regular revenue coming from clients, and revenue that we can count on from one year to another. Most of it, we have chosen to prioritize B2C revenue for CryptPad, which was not an easy choice because XWiki as a company has mostly B2B revenue. And so we had much more knowledge on how to sell software to companies than how to sell it to end users. And it's another complexity to fund software with end user money. So you can help, anybody can help, you can encourage people to help. There are subscriptions to CryptPad or donations are 2 ways to bring funding to the project. So we like to have our finances open. We're asking for money from end users, so we want to show them what we do with that money, and also how much we spend and where we get our money from. So we have been fairly stable, so XWiki didn't lose any money. The company didn't lose any money in doing CryptPad, but it's usually has a visibility of about 1 year in terms of balancing the budget, but from 1 year to another, we usually manage to balance it. And now these predictions of the revenue of the team are based on a stable team, like paying the people that are already employed. If we think about it, if we want to tackle the Google and these bigger companies, this is not enough. This is clearly not enough if you want to really push it very far. So what are we working on? So one of the things we worked on is a scalable server. One of the biggest problems that, from our point of view, was cutting us off from future bigger revenue stream from B2C users is actually the performance and the scalability of the CryptPad service. In February and March, the service was going down because of the Mexican. They added this 1 million of pad that pushed us over the threshold of what the architecture of the backend server was able to handle. And we had a project that was already in progress to break that architecture and allow us to handle it. So if you've been a user of CryptPad in February, March, we apologize to you for the performance it had at that time. This is typically what you see here. This was basically early March, the typical time of one connection to a drive. This is a test, this is our monitoring. And now, since we have put the new system in production, we're achieving reliable connection to the drive under 3 seconds in our test. Whatever the number of users are actually using CryptPad. So because we're able to scale horizontally with the software. So that software, the scalable server, is not yet in the CryptPad self-hosted version. It will become the default server. We hope by the end of the quarter, so by the end of June. It's not really needed when you have a self-hosted instance because you never achieve that level of load, but it will become the default server in order for us to manage only one server. Another thing that is coming is a new rich text editor, so we're going to replace the WYSIWYG editor in CryptPad using block nodes. We will continue to work on UI and UX, and starting in the second part of the year and next year, we will also start a project, common research project with the team of NextGraph. This project will allow to bring some level of federation to CryptPad, so it will be possible to create a pad that will connect to another CryptPad instance through the NextGraph network. So NextGraph is a technology that is similar to CryptPad in its principle, but it's local first and federated. CryptPad is not federated, and the main reason that it's not federated is that we always thought we would never have the financial capability to sustain a federated system, which would require way more work to manage all the complexity of the interaction between servers. We will also integrate EuroOffice, which is an OnlyOffice port. That's more a replacement of the same technology, but based on a different source tree, which will allow us to guarantee a little more what exactly is in CryptPad on the Office part. To finish, your data is precious, so think about protecting it. And CryptPad offers an alternative to GAFAM technologies, so it's not the only one that you need to fully replace systems coming from the big techs. It's encrypted, but it's actually fairly easy to use. In one click, you can have a document. In one click, you can share it with other users. If you have a survey to do, don't do it on Google, don't do it on Microsoft. You can protect your survey using CryptPad, and it's free. One way to help CryptPad is making it known. The data about the Mexican users just shows us how little we are known. So one really good way is just talk about it, talk about alternatives, talk about the ones you use. This is helping us because we have very little marketing. Another way is translations. This allows to reach out to more countries, so we have a Weblate instance. Thank you, Weblate, for the technology to make translations of the CryptPad software. And we also still need help to finance. We still have to grow significantly the revenue of B2C if we want to make up for research money. It's not that it's possible to find research money, so we believe we can find it, but we believe it's also extremely important that we have a basis of the financing that is not coming from grants, in case grant systems are changing and allowing us to plan more in the future. The difficulty with grants, which we have been quite successful with, is that you always have this: what happens in 2 years, what happened in 3 years, what happens next year, depending on the duration of the grant. That's it. A big thanks to the team. So the CryptPad team is fairly protective of their privacy, so they don't want to show their photos, they don't want to show who they are, but they're very involved in the development of the software. So, so these are the names of the CryptPad team people. That's it.
Thank you very much. We're out of time for the room, and we have a nice audio guy who didn't cut us off 2 minutes ago. He's smiling now. But maybe we can do a Q&A on the way out, and slowly be on our way. But thank you for today.
Thank you.
And keep your badges for tomorrow.